WagerTalk Podcast for the week ending September 2nd. We've got a big show tonight. William Bernacchi will be stopping by to take us behind the counter. We'll find out where the money's going. Gianni the Greek's going to stop by. I should say Johnny the Greek Gambler will be stopping by. He's going to talk about the new show we're going to be doing on WagerTalk TV, and he's going to drop a best bet on us as well. We also have Stephen M. Smith, not to be confused with Stephen A. Smith from Touchdown Alabama, is going to be here and going to preview Alabama.
Is that why he uses his middle initial?
I would imagine I would reason. For sure. And, of course, my partners in crime, Ralph Michaels and Dave Cokin. We're going to break down some college football action for you. We'll have best bets at the end of the show. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Jared is behind the controls. Let's get this party started. All right, guys, college football. We had week 0 last week. I think that's the stupidest thing, calling it week 0. Just call it kickoff weekend.
I came up with that name.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's stupid. I'm just going to disagree with you right now.
I didn't. I'm making that up.
Okay. I mean, week 0. Come on.
What? Coke 0 works, right?
Well,
so now I got week 0.
Yeah.
So do you want to call it week 1?
Let's call it.
You have to write something
weekend.
in your schedule. You can't write that in your schedule. It's week 1.
Isn't there a guy around town, and I don't know who it is, but he's not very good. And they call him Mr. Zero in the books.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who
Davey,
it is. So.
Marco's right there. You can see it's you talking.
All right, Ralph. Jared, could you just mute Ralph's mic for the rest of this show? All right, guys, let's jump into it. We're going to go into Friday night. We got a couple good ball games on Friday night. We're going to start off with Utah State. They travel to play Wake Forest. Guys, you look at this one, and you've got an ACC team opening up here. They're a 4.5-point favorite. Now, we've seen some movement today to the Wake Forest side. This line was lower than this earlier in the week. I saw 3.5s and 4s. You got an ACC team against a Mountain West team that's not bringing a lot back in Utah State, but they are bringing back the most important part of that team, and that's Jordan Love.
Sometimes observers overrate returning starters. What if the guys that are replacing the departed starters are at least considered by some to be better than the guys they're replacing? This might be the case with Utah State. Jordan Love's fantastic. Wake Forest, a solid team. Dave Clawson's an excellent football coach, and I understand the line movement, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I personally have Utah State power rated higher than Wake Forest.
Ralph, these two teams met 2 years ago, and Wake Forest just steamrolled them in that game. Has Utah State closed the gap that much? They were a big favorite when they played 2 years ago. Now we're looking at this one under a touchdown. Can Utah State hang with Wake Forest?
Yeah, they were a 13-point favorite in that 46-10 win, and I lean Wake Forest. Having 2 returning starters, yes, Jordan Love is the best player in the Mountain West, but you return him and you return your left tackle. That's it. There's too many new parts for me to go on the road. This ACC team may be one of the weakest in the ACC, or at least a bottom-tier team, but it's still a team that won 3 straight bowl games, and Dave Clawson gets all the credit in my book. I favor Wake Forest in this game.
All right, I guess I'm going to have to be the tiebreaker here. I'm shading towards Dave in this one. I lean to Utah State. I think this is going to come down to a field goal, but for me, not enough. I need a little bit more there for me to make a big commitment, but I do love Jordan Love, and we'll see what happens there. One game I do have an opinion on Friday night, and we're going to take a look at Wisconsin as they travel to play South Florida. Running back Jonathan Taylor returns for Wisconsin. He might be one of the best running backs in the country. 2,194 rushing yards last year. But this Wisconsin team, last year was a down year for them, Ralph, in the Big Ten. Do they bounce back here? And Wisconsin, when you think of them, obviously you think run first, pass second. Laying this many points on the road, are you comfortable doing that at South Florida? And anytime, doesn't matter if it's college or it's pro, when you're talking about September games in Florida, This time of the year, you got to factor in the humidity factor. These teams coming in there, do they get fatigued and tired out in the second half?
Two parts. The first is the Wisconsin of old 2 years ago. I used to love playing them as an away favorite of 2 touchdowns or even a home favorite of 3 or 4 touchdowns. Why? You run your offense. Your offensive line grinds. Your running back breaks holes. You score touchdowns. What happens when you get a big lead? You still have to run the same offense. You may bring in your second string, but you're playing the exact same offense. When a passing team has a big lead and they try running the ball, they're changing schemes. This Wisconsin team is not that same team of 2 years ago. They have to replace 4 offensive linemen. Those 4 offensive linemen made 150-plus starts. 2 of them are in the NFL. I don't care who the running back is. Rushing with that type of O-line in front of you is going to take you a while to get those guys in the groove. I am happily going to take USF in the points in this one.
I don't think Wisconsin is in for a great season. I know some people have them rated quite high. I don't.
I have them 4th in the division.
Yeah, I think they're. I don't see them playing in the Big Ten title game. Let's put it that way. And everybody's really down on South Florida. And look, I can't argue with that. I made a lot of money betting against South Florida the second half of last season. They were a complete fraud when they got out of the gate. Whatever it was, 5-0, 6-0,
7-0,
7-0. Right. And it was like once this team loses, they're going to lose a lot.
And
boy, did they ever! And that turned out to be free money going against them at the end of the year. I don't think they're as bad as they were at the end of last year. They kind of gave up. And sometimes you have to remember that about a team. So they weren't as good as they were early. They weren't as bad as they were late. Weather conditions could be favorable for them here. It's going to be nasty down there. Humid, hot. I think South Florida's got a chance to hang around in this game.
All right, I'm going to lean the other way. And, Ralph, I'm going to go to you and talk.
Hold on. Dave, Marco, you and I agree. Marco's on the other side. Let's get that bet in real quick. All right, sorry, Marco. Go ahead.
Oh, you guys, I'll tell you.
I got my yak up. I can do that real quick.
Jared, we're going to go the rest of the show solo. All right, kick these 2 guys out. Guys,
really? Okay, I'll go home now because I want to be there. We're recording this before UCLA Cincinnati, and I don't want to miss that.
You guys, you should see Dave sometime in the studio.
Come on, let's go.
Guys, I'm going to go with Ralph. The first thing that you said, they're going to run the football, and I think that they are going to wear down South Florida in this game. South Florida, I'm not a fan of Charlie Strong. I didn't like him at Texas. There was 2 Charlie Strongs.
He's always spoken well of you, Marco.
Well, I'm a nice guy. You guys, one of these days are going to realize that, but, what can I say? The second half of last season, you can't let your team just slip away. They did. Now, I know they had a lot of close games and stuff, but still, you go 7-0 and then you finish on an 0-6 run. I don't like it. I'm going to look at Wisconsin. I think that, as you said, Ralph, they can protect the lead. They can run the football. And when you got a running back like Jonathan Taylor, he can dominate this game. I'm going to go ahead. We've seen the line climb in this game. It's at 11.5 right now. I've got Wisconsin by 14. For me, as our buddy Teddy Covers would say, if I'm playing, I'm laying, and I'm on Wisconsin with that one. Now, Teddy's going to probably want royalties for me saying that, but let's move on to Toledo and Kentucky, guys. This one's on Saturday. Mark Stoops, he's done a great job turning this Kentucky program back around, but he only brings back 6 starters on offense, 4 on defense, and I had to look this stat up twice because I was shocked. They had 5 players go into the NFL draft last year. Yeah. Okay, we talk about blue chip programs, how they just, they reload. They don't rebuild. Kentucky is not an Alabama or a Clemson. They're not at that level yet. You lose 5 guys to the NFL out of one class, you've got to see regression the next year. I'm sorry. And you're looking at a Toledo team, and we see it every year. These MAC conference teams, these early season games, there's always a surprise somewhere. These kids get up for it. They play in close proximity usually. Usually the Toledos will play somebody like Pitt or something, a school that maybe snubbed them, didn't get, offer them a scholarship, so these kids play with chips on their shoulder. This is just too many points for me. I'm looking at Toledo in here. I think they can hang. This team scored 50 points or more 6 different times last year. Can Kentucky stop them?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people making a case for Toledo, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but the number's kind of short in terms of the athletic differential between these teams. Kentucky's still got better athletes than Toledo. I didn't play the game. I mean, there's no chance I'm laying it with Kentucky. I want to see what they do. They could be down significantly from last year, but that remains to be seen. I'll learn something in this game. I'm not totally trusting Toledo, though. I'm not on their bandwagon, Ralph.
Well, you have to remember Kentucky is 0-10 as a home favorite the last 4 years. They just haven't learned how to get margin, and that's with 5 NFL players last year. And, you could talk about players, but you could talk about impact players that they lost. It's not like they lost 7th-rounder long snappers. You lost your rusher and you lost your linebacker. I mean, those are the two heart and souls on both sides of the team. I think Kentucky. I have Toledo as the second best team in the MAC behind Toledo. I think they can hold close.
You have Toledo as the second best team
behind Ohio. Sorry,
okay.
I took a sip of my water. Water. So I have them as the second best team behind Ohio, and part of the reason, Marco, the MAC is there is because you have high school football in Ohio and Pennsylvania that is very good, and they get a lot of those second-rate kids, like you said, that get shied from some of those other schools. No play for me, lean dog.
All right, guys. This one interests me. Now, let me say first, Boise State at Florida State. This game was supposed to be played at Jacksonville.
Right.
Because of the hurricane, they've moved it to Tallahassee, where is the home field of Florida State. But what surprises me is the line didn't jump that much with
a point and a half.
Well, because Florida State already had a home neutral.
And so with Florida State coming in, is this team that down that, last season was one of the worst seasons they've had? Jimbo Fisher gone, moved on to Texas A&M. We're seeing the regression. Willie Taggart comes in. Again, we say it over and over again when a new coach comes in. If he's running a different system, he's got the old coach's players. It takes it takes that second year, really a lot of times into the third year before you really see the improvement that he gets the players that he wants. Is he is there pressure on him? I mean, Florida State's a program.
Yeah, there's
pressure. You better believe it.
Worst season since 1976. First losing season.
You don't have to win the national championship, but you can't have a losing record at Florida State. And he's not going to have a losing record this year. They're going to be a good football team. But, Boise's not a team you can just walk over. Now, I know Boise's flopped in big spots before, especially under Harsin, who hasn't had the magic Chris Peterson had in the big games. And that might be the case here. I'm leery of how good Boise State is. I don't have them as the best team in the Mountain West this year. In fact, I've got them actually as the third best team in the Mountain West, so I might be low on them. I'll have to wait and see.
Hey, wait a minute. And who did Ralph pick here to win the Mountain West? Well, that was Hawaii, the team that just beat Arizona. Yeah.
Well, boy, they got a lot of help in that game because I got to tell you something. They
were minus 6 turnovers.
Kevin Sumlin is so bad, it's scary, okay? How do you run? And I wasn't involved in the game, so I'm not bitching about it, okay? But how do you run the 3-3-5, which never stops anything anyway in college football? And you run it the whole game, basically, except for like 3 plays in the third quarter. He stinks, okay? He's terrible.
It only works for Rocky Long.
Well, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And guess what? If Rocky Long's playing a prolific offense, he might not work against them either. I think they lost to Hawaii last year, right? Yeah. So, anyway, we're getting off on a tangent. I think Florida State's going to be a good team, but they're going to have to prove it to me first.
Ralph, you look at this team, and you can look and find the fault of last year real quick. 91 rushing yards per game last year, 2.8 yards per carry. You can't. I know that we're going to fast pace and offense, and you still have to run the football successfully. Yep. Even if you're not running it as much as you used to, you got to have more positive plays than 2 points.
Still, you win the rushing stats, you usually win the game. Okay, that has not changed.
My concern is this reminds me a little bit coming in here last year, all the hype when Boise State was going to play Oklahoma State last year. A lot of love for Boise State in that game, and they laid a colossal egg against Oklahoma State. They got run out of the building, lose by, I think, 3 touchdowns in that one. Do we see a repeat of that in this one? Does Florida State rise to the occasion and now moving the game back down to Florida State, a plus for them? Or just all of this stuff, the turmoil of the hurricane and everything else, is this a distraction for them more so than Boise, who's coming in to play the game, and they're going to get on a plane and get the hell out of Dodge?
I would have moved the line 3 points. You know, you don't have your same ticket holders there, but you're going to have some crazy fans. Tickets are $10. It's open seating. They're going to have 50, 60,000, maybe even more than that. The game at noon makes it a little less rowdy of a crowd, but I am all over Florida State on this. Boise has a freshman quarterback. I think when you take the talent from Florida State is still recruited. Yes, they were down. Cam Akers was injured, had 700 yards. He was the number 1 running back out 2 years ago, had 1,000+ yards. With him healthy, you have a quarterback that in Blackman that started 12 games 2 years ago and then was able to redshirt and learn the system last year. To me, there was no question he was going to win the job over the Wisconsin transfer. I like Florida State here.
All right, guys.
Nice move by Hornibrook, by the way. I mean, not for nothing, but what a swifto that guy's going to be. I don't mean to be insulting, but you transfer from Wisconsin to a place where you're not going to start. Good move.
Same for, but at least Tate Martell was at least had a shot to win. He had a fair shot to win.
Tate Martell was the favorite coming out of spring ball.
Yeah.
Hornibrook was never the favorite.
All right, guys, I agree with you. My numbers have Florida State winning by 10 in the fact Boise State going on the road, opening game on the road, hostile environment, and you're starting a freshman quarterback. That's not for me.
Add in heat and humidity, and while the crowd may be as boisterous, add in a 9:00 start time with the new noon start at Florida State.
All right, there you go, guys. Hey, we're going to step out, take a quick break. We're not done. We got 4 more college football games we're going to preview up next here on the WagerTalk Podcast.
It's Manic Monday, and that means every pick at WagerTalk.com is just $9. Get a play in any sport valued at up to $30 for just $9 each and every Monday at WagerTalk.com.
Welcome back to the WagerTalk Podcast, Part 2, college football previews. Let's just start at Saturday. It's the biggest game of the card for the weekend. It is Oregon. It is Auburn. It is being played Arlington, Texas. Guys, let's start it off. SEC versus Pac-12. Auburn, this seems familiar. It should. They opened the season last year playing Washington. Washington was the flavor of the month for the Pac-12 last year. A lot of hype coming into the season last year. 4-year starter at quarterback, Jake Browning and such. And Auburn was able to win the ball game. Now we've got Oregon coming in. Justin Herbert could be the number 1 quarterback taken in next year's draft. A lot of hoopla surrounding him and this entire Oregon team. You know what, guys? I hear the hype with the Pac-12 teams every year until somebody actually proves that they can win with the big boys. I'm not sold. I'm not sold on this Oregon team. I don't think, and we could debate it, I don't think they're the best team in the Pac-12, but a lot of people do. Dave, I'll start with you. Auburn, favorite here. Do you see them winning this game, or do you like the dog?
I don't know. I've said this on the show we did with the Prez and Teddy. I said of the entire schedule, this is the last game I'd bet. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm not going to even try and guess at it because I just don't have a clue. It's the best game on the schedule. I want to watch this game more than anything else and learn about these two teams. But I will tell you this, Auburn is really good, really quick on defense, murderous schedule this year, which will keep them from being a playoff team. Oregon has tremendous finesse, good offensive line, but I don't know if they can stay with Auburn for 60 minutes, and that's it. So you don't have to bet every game, and I'm sure not betting this one.
Dave, I want to use one of the words that you said there. You said finesse, And to me, that's the way I describe the Pac-12, with the exception of, say, Utah and Washington that does play hard-nosed defense. Not many teams play defense, play a physical style in the Pac-12. And to me, I just don't think that bodes well when they get out of conference play and get into these situations. The one thing that's keeping me from making a big play on Auburn is the fact that we're going to be starting a freshman quarterback. That quarterback for Auburn, Bo Nix, if the name sounds familiar, it should. His dad was a quarterback at Auburn, Pat Nix. This is a kid that just was breaking records left and right in Alabama high school football. These numbers are mind-boggling. And I know, Ralph, from your days back at Phil Steele and you guys, ranking recruits and everything else, have you seen numbers like this out of a high school quarterback? 10,300 passing yards, 127 passing touchdowns, 2,100 rushing yards, and he had 34 rushing TDs. That's a pretty good resume. I don't care what the level of competition was on that high school level. Those are monster numbers. And you know this kid, being the son of a quarterback, had a football in his hand from the time he could grip one. How do you see this one? And will he be able to adjust in a big game with the pressure as a true freshman?
Well, he was ranked the same as Trevor Lawrence. He was ranked the same as Tua coming out of high school. So you have Auburn, who I've said this numerous times. If I have to take one team in football, take their O-line and their D-line and take an Auburn. They have a top 5 D-line. They have a top 10 O-line. Oregon probably has the best O-line in the country, so you have a great matchup. To me, you're getting value on Auburn because of this, because of their season win total. They have the toughest schedule in college football. And because of that, you have a win total that's 8. And you see an SEC team with a win total of 8, and you can't think they're one of the top 10 teams in the country. Well, they are talent-wise. They just won't get there because of their schedule. I think you have value. Lastly, make it simple. Oregon, on the road, the last 3 years, 4-12 straight up on the road. You're talking a top 10 team, 4-12 straight up on the road, period.
Last year, Oregon, 9-4 straight up, but they were only 4-8 against the spread. They were money burners last year. Granted, they're supposed to be even better this year, but I'm going to go back to last year in Auburn, having that experience of playing a big game right out of the gate. And there's more pressure on Oregon in this game, guys. We talked about it before. Not that Auburn's going to be in the national championship picture.
I don't know if I agree with that. Because there's more pressure on the Auburn coach, I can tell you that. Malzahn's on the hot seat.
He is. And getting to him, one thing different, he's going back to when he started at Auburn. He's calling the plays now.
Yeah.
He did it in the bowl game last year, and they put up, 60 points in the bowl game? Yes. That's going to be a plus, and he's going to have a game plan to try to keep Bo Nix in good down and distance situations, take the pressure off of him. But where I was going with the pressure on Oregon, I get there's pressure on Malzahn, but if you're an SEC team, you can lose one game and still be in the mix of things.
Well, but they can't.
Well, they're not going to be there anyway.
Well, no, but the thing is, realistically, if Auburn loses this game, they're done as far as the playoff. Because for them to go unbeaten in the SEC would be an extraordinarily tall order. But Oregon also is under the same pressure there because they can't lose this game.
That's it. There's no Pac-12 team that's going to get in with a blemish. That's my point there. Now, this game's in Arlington, Texas, and you would expect that the crowd's going to be overwhelming to the Auburn side because of the proximity, more so of travel. But I did talk to
Oregon travels really well.
They are, and I actually have numbers on that. One of my buddies at Vivid Seats sent me an email last night.
38%. By the way, they're great company.
38% of the tickets sold for this game have gone to Oregon. So, it's not going to be an overwhelming crowd, and you might still get,
each school, I think, got 15,000 anyway. Oregon will fill those, and then you're talking about the secondary seats. So you're going to be well supported.
The
it's
only
an even
thing
crowd.
that could influence the crowd is if the people from Oregon bring their legal weed with them and get really stoned before the game. And I don't know if you should do that in Texas because Texas is a little bit behind the times as far as those laws are concerned.
Yes.
So, be careful, Duck fans.
Hey, in Oregon, let's give a shout-out to them. Not only do they have weed, you can bet in Oregon now that this week, as of Tuesday.
Well, they've had some form of legalized wagering for a while, but now it's a little more.
Was it like parlay cards or something,
so,
which just silliness. But let's go with that poor Ralph. He's like, hey, run the clock, man. Get into the 2-minute offense.
Yes, come on. Let's go. That's right. You guys have extra segments to do.
Yeah, Dave.
Okay.
You'll be home having a beer.
So, Ralph, are you on a side in this one?
I clearly I made
Auburn?
5 statements that were all Auburn. What side do you think I'm on?
I'm losing.
You were talking about weed in Oregon, and I'm trying to make a point.
When Ralph just says, let me drink my water. All right, so we've got 2 votes for Auburn and one,
one
not
complete
sure.
abstention.
Okay. Let's go to the next one, guys. Mississippi at Memphis. I'm going to start this one off with saying, you look at this one, we've got an AAC team as a favorite at home against an SEC team. Now, granted, this is not a real good SEC team, but there's still that mystique of the 2 conferences. Are there going to be people, and Ralph says, let me in. Go ahead, Ralph.
I ran that exact number in the database. Non-conference SEC dogs have gone 42% the last 6 years.
Yeah, because they're overrated.
Well, I'm just saying. So that surprised me. I thought it would be closer to 50-50, but it was 42%.
I came close to playing this game. I didn't play it, but I came close to laying it with Memphis. I'll give you a few things I don't like about Ole Miss. One, they are not that good. Okay, that's the easy part. They're going to be among the worst teams in the SEC. Secondly, a lot of people are raving about these hires, and I'm on the complete opposite side.
Rich Rod?
I don't like the Rodriguez and McIntyre coordinators hirings for this reason. They've been head coaches forever, and all of a sudden they're taking a subservient role. They're not used to not running the show. To me, it's a too many cooks spoil the broth type of thing. You basically have 3 head coaches on Ole Miss right now, and to me, Rich Rodriguez and McIntyre are there until they get another head coaching job, and then they're going to leave. So I don't think that's a good situation. I don't like the hires for Ole Miss. And Memphis is really good. Okay? I mean, if they can, their defense, I know it's shaky, as are a lot of the defenses in the AAC. But boy, they can move the football. And Memphis is a team that, in the minds of many, has a really good chance to be playing on January 1st. This is a monster game for them. Monster game for them. They have to win this game, obviously. One other thing to remember, this is kind of a rivalry.
Yeah, they're only an hour
not
apart.
That far apart.
They're only an hour.
And Mississippi gets the big school, the big recruits, and Memphis doesn't. And I got to tell you, Memphis kids are going to be really fired up for this one. I like the idea of them being the favorite in this game. I think they're going to come out and play well. And I didn't bet the game, but it was a consideration.
And, we saw that line go down a few points. Now it's down to 5 at some places that, we talked about the SEC being a dog, and people bet that. So, this line was closer to 6.5. I am not that confident. Yeah, Brady White is an incredible quarterback, and he's going to throw up all kinds of numbers and pass for 4,000 or 5,000 yards. But it's that Memphis defense that concerns me. Even though Ole Miss only has 3 starters back on offense,
they have a dynamic running back who's going to be on the field right away.
It just concerns me betting Memphis as a favorite with that defense on the field.
They blew 4 double-digit leads last year, that Memphis defense. And that's not something that you want to see when you're laying points. But to go back to the offense for 1 second on Mississippi, with the changes coming in with the offensive coordinator in Rich Rodriguez, you know what kind of offense he's going to run. Yep. But again, new system, do they have the players to run what he wants to run? There's going to be some growing pains there. This might be a good spot for Memphis. I lean Memphis in this one.
Also, got to be worried that Rich Rod will talk McIntyre into running the 3-3-5 on defense because he used to run. I hate that defense. I mean, what do you think? You Bill Belichick? Come on.
We've got that. You don't like the 3-3-5?
No, I don't. I think it's a bad defense in today's college football.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to Sunday. We've got. Or is this one Monday? I got these ones mixed up. Notre Dame and Louisville.
Monday.
That's Monday. Notre Dame and Louisville. we've got Notre Dame. They bring back Ian Book, quarterback. We saw how much better this team got once he took over last year. They bring back 4 starting offensive linemen along with 2 of their top wide receivers. 7 offensive starters in all. This team should put up big offensive numbers once again this year. My question, though, is the defense with Notre Dame. Ralph, what do you see here? This is a lot of points to be laying on a road to a team with a new coach, and normally I buck a new coach that first year because it's not his players and everything else. But, Dave, you alluded to it.
Well, they can't play any worse than they did.
Massive upgrade.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest coaching upgrade in college football this season.
The 2 biggest are East Carolina and Louisville. Okay. 2 biggest coaching upgrades. Satterfield, they'll be better right away. And remember, last year, I'm not making a case by any means that Louisville was going to be any good, but they quit. There's just no other way to say it. They quit. Everybody knew Petrino was going to be out of there, and they didn't even show up for games. Well, that's what they did. They showed up and they didn't play football. So Louisville's going to be better than they were a year ago, but I don't know if the talent's any good. So it's kind of a learning game.
Yeah, I am indifferent. I am not going to lay these points with Notre Dame. They're just not a team that blows out a lot of people. They have nothing, though. I mean, they have an open week, and then they play New Mexico. Yeah. So you got a 3-week stretch there where this is the only game you have circled. But I still, Notre Dame is not that team that's going to run up the score and blow out a team. So to me, I'll lean with the dog, but no strong opinion on this game.
And watch out for the back door, because this Louisville team isn't going to do what last year's team did, which was quit.
Yeah.
Notre Dame 3-11 against the spread as favorites in the road openers. And you talk about Scott Satterfield and how he's improved teams. He took Appalachian State straight from an FCS team to FBS and gone to 3 straight bowl games.
Oh, he's good.
They were undefeated in the.
I was surprised Louisville got him. I thought Satterfield might get, I guess it's the job he wanted. So good luck to him.
All right. And how about the fact, you guys, that it's a standalone game and being, Louisville home opener? Do you look to the dog being more pumped up, knowing that
it's
the
Notre
entire
Dame.
country?
Notre Dame's bringing the
ACC.
Anyway. Every time Notre Dame goes to an ACC team, it goes sold out. It's the most expensive ticket there is, and it's what every alum wants to go to. So Notre Dame going to the ACC has set a new precedent.
Who isn't fired up for the college football opener?
To go to the Yum Yum Center, and
I think it's just Yum, isn't it? Or is it Yum Yum?
It's Yum Yum.
No.
It is? No, I think it's Yum.
No, I think it's Yum Yum.
We should call Brian Leonard, because he definitely would know the food chain, because they own Kentucky Fried?
So
isn't that the chain that has Kentucky Fried Chicken and Long John Silver's and all that? Yeah, that's right up. That's Brian.
It's the KFC Yum Center.
Okay.
One Yum.
All right. You probably went with Brian, and he saw KFC and Long John Silver's.
Brian was going, yum.
Yeah,
so that's what I remember.
That's for sure. All right, guys. Last one on the docket preview here. And, Dave, we want to get a best bet from you, too, so don't skid out right as soon as this game's over, because I know you got the car fired up.
Wait a minute. Let's see. So we're going to next week, because we already did Monday's game. So now we're finishing on next following Thursdays?
I put them in the wrong order, and what do you want from me, okay?
So is this the Oklahoma-Houston game?
This is the Oklahoma-Houston game.
So I'll do this one quickly. Houston's program last year, that was a good team, okay? And then this nonsense started with Ed Oliver. And I think it completely fractured the clubhouse. And they were just awful down the stretch. I think I got Applewhite fired, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was the catalyst to get Applewhite out of there. Houston's got the quarterback is healthy again, and he's a dynamic football player.
De'Ara King is an NFL quarterback.
I'm telling you, he's exciting.
Yeah.
And he's smart. He makes good decisions. I don't think Oklahoma's got to walk over here. I think Houston is going to give him a football game. They're going to score 1,000,000 points in this game. But I would not be surprised if Houston maybe loses 2 touchdowns, 17 points, something like that. I'm not running to the window to bet him, but I don't think this is as easy as it looks win for Oklahoma.
Ralph, I'm going to go to you and say we got Jalen Hurts. He is a transfer from Alabama. Come in.
Oh, is that where he's from?
Come in. Well, guys, you look at the last two guys that came into Oklahoma.
Oh, boy.
Okay? Baker Mayfield comes in as a transfer, wins the Heisman. Kyler Murray comes in as a transfer, wins the Heisman. Jalen Hurts has a bigger big game resume than both of those guys had coming in here.
But he doesn't have as big an arm.
He doesn't.
And that's the difference. This guy, he's going to be very good, but no, not a Heisman winner.
But he's going to run this offense, and this offense is going to score points once again. I think the offense with Jalen Hurts this year will be productive. It will not be as productive speed-wise as it was last year with Kyler Murray.
Well, they were the number one offense of all of football last year.
Right, but they scored too fast. And it put that defense back on the field. We talked about this over
That's why
and over.
Alex Grinch is the new DC, because they scored too fast.
They couldn't stop anybody.
No, they couldn't.
And that's what got Kyler Murray the Heisman, because he was on the field for every play of the game. If you guys remember last year, Tua was a lock. Do you remember what the odds were in October for him to win the Heisman at the Westgate? He was odds-on favorite. And that last month of the season, because Oklahoma had all of those games that were on national TV, and they were shootouts against West Virginia and everybody else where they had to score, it got him the Heisman just by the numbers he had to put up, and it was because of this defense being so bad. They bring back most of the defense. Some people would say, well, that's not a good thing because they were so bad last year, but they're not. They've got the experience, and they're not going to be on the field for as long as they were last year, because Oklahoma is going to have sustained drives this year. They will still score points, but they will have sustained drives. How do you see this one, Ralph?
The good news for Houston is that head coach Dana Holgorsen knows Oklahoma. The bad news is that head coach Dana Holgorsen lost 7 straight games to Oklahoma and failed to cover the last 5. Granted, that's West Virginia, but you're going to have the same offense. It's, I won't have a play on this game either. I will say that the 80 when they opened it was the highest ever Week 1 FBS versus FBS line that there was. And any total that has gone 80 or higher, that has been posted 80 or higher, has gone 28, 18, and 1, 61% to the over. So those people that are leery to play those high totals, they've gone over the total at a mark of 61%.
I'm going to say one thing about this Houston defense. 496 yards per game last year they gave up, and that was in the AAC conference.
You got Dave sleeping.
No, I'm reading messages.
That was against AAC competition. Now, granted, there was a lot of good offensive teams last year in that conference,
but they also have some that aren't. It's not the Big 12.
Exactly. Yeah. I just don't see how I'm sorry. I just don't see how they are able to trade points.
You're going over?
I agree with you on the over, but if I'm playing this game, I'm not taking Houston. I don't like Holgorsen. He just doesn't have the talent at Houston that he had at West Virginia, and he couldn't get it done at West Virginia, and he's got a worse defense here, and his defense was horrible at West Virginia.
Although the team he took over in Houston could beat the team that he left at West Virginia this year.
Well, yeah, okay. The cupboard is bare at West Virginia. There's no question about that. All right, that finishes our previews, but Dave, before you leave us, because Ralph and I are going to give our best bets at the end of the show.
So I'll give you one now.
Give me one now.
Kind of a game nobody's paying much attention to. Ball State and Indiana. Indiana's favored by 17. I think Ball State can hang around in this game. It's not on Indiana's home field. They'll have most of the crowd, obviously. But Ball State's got almost everyone back from last year. The quarterback, I don't think he's as good as the guy he's replacing, who moved on and is now at Vanderbilt, Riley Neal. But and I'm blanking on the kid's name for Ball State as the quarterback. But he did see some action last year, and I think with more experience, he'll cut down on some of the mistakes he made a year ago. I think I powered this game around 12, so on a neutral field. If you want to make it a home neutral, then maybe it's 14. But that, to me, is still some value on the Ball State side. So Ball State plus 17 against Indiana. It's a game that's on my card.
Drew Pitt?
Drew Pitt, yeah. He saw enough experience last year, so I
threw 100 passes.
I considered him.
Yeah.
I put him down as a returning starter because he's been out there enough. I think 17 covers this.
All right, good stuff from Dave. Ball State plus the points is his best bet. We're going to step out, take a quick break, and when we come back, it is going to be Handicapper's Corner. Gianni, the great gambler, stopping by next. You might know him better as VR. That's next here on the Wager Talk Podcast.
Every Tuesday, WagerTalk.com offers a best bet selection from its hottest handicapper. It's a great way to introduce yourself to WagerTalk.com with a big best bet winner for just $2 on $2 Tuesday.
Welcome back to the Wager Talk Podcast. It is Handicapper's Corner. And tonight, joining us, it is Gianni, the Greek gambler. You might know him better as Ace VR, Vegas runner. He's got so many names. I call him my new co-host on our show that we're going to be doing. You can follow Ace here on Twitter at Greek_gambler. How's it going tonight, Johnny?
Never better, Marco. Really excited, man. You know what's weird? I've been here now, I think, 21, 22 years in Las Vegas, so I've seen that many opening weeks of both college and NFL. And I swear to you, throughout the year when people ask, I say all the time, you know, I envy those guys in the sports book that cheer in teams and get so excited about cashing their bets. Bet size irrelevant. You know, money's all relative. You know, what is a lot. 500 may be a lot to one person and maybe nothing to someone else. But just the fact that you see people getting excited about their bets, and us having done it for so long, you've done it now over 30-plus years. You've watched point spreads and final scores every single day all those years, and you've won and lost the bet every possible way. And let's face it, I mean, truth be told, you lose the excitement. You know, you become numb to it. And a lot of times, I swear to you, I walk through the sports book where I tell my wife, I say, I envy these people that still have that fire. And I kind of got it back a little with doing that stuff with the UFC because I originate 90% of the stuff that I release there because I have to tape early, so I don't have a lot of the info from sources I have access to. And that kind of has rekindled that fire, and knowing that, tens of thousands of people are looking at the results, makes you worry even more. But again, it's weird that when it's the start of the season, I get excited like that, and I just love this feeling, man. I hope it lasts long, and now we're starting this new podcast, so those kind of things is what I need to keep me going.
Gianni, as we were talking, I was looking at the Wager Talk page, and I guess my question or my comment to you would be capital W, capital T, capital F. When I went back to look back at your college football record last year, you didn't have many games, but the final record was 15-4. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I did when I first jumped on with you guys. The goal was I'm just going to share the big moves. Any big move I have, I'm going to share that. And unfortunately, I'm so selective with those plays, like you guys are due with the 5% plays. You don't have all that many. I know Brian Leonard has one today or had one yesterday. This guy's got, how many? A couple over the entire year or since he's been at Wager Talk? So I'm so selective. And I built, you guys have helped, and I built a decent following there, and I want to give these guys more. So I told Johnny, here's what I'm going to do for this football season. I bet size differently. I go from 100 to 1,000, and my average bet is a $500 play, with the biggest being 1,000, so double that. And I told them anything that's from 750 to 1,000, which are my best bets, I said I'm going to just upload it into your system, so any guys that have subs could get those plays too. I said if I have a real strong 600, I'll share that too, just so they get more volume. So again, 15-4, I love it. I wish I could maintain, that kind of win percentage. Probably not with more volume, but my goal there is honestly to be extremely selective and just share the strongest ones. Like real quickly, no touting at all. I'm just sharing. Like I've given probably 12, 15 premium moves to my guys. And at WagerTalk, I might have uploaded 5 or 6 plays for the entire from Thursday to Sunday because I just took those ones that are from 750 to 1,000, those strongest ones. Now, a lot of guys love more volume, and anything I share we have an edge on, but some guys just want more selective and based on their bankroll, so hopefully it works out. I'm looking forward to it, man. And with all the info you have, Ralph, I haven't missed a video, bro. I swear to you. Every time I see your name in a video, I watch it because I know I'm going to get a nugget of information. I still got that week 1 and week 2 paper you gave me on those big college underdogs where you're like, yeah, you could have this if you want when we did that video together. And I'm already looking for teams that fit that criteria, my friend.
Awesome.
And Ace, we've got a big show starting next week. Really excited about this. Now, you and I have been, we've been doing a show with our buddy Gil Alexander. We've done it for, is it 7, 8 years? I've lost track. We've been doing it so long. And it's a show all about the NFL. But this year, we're branching out, and Wager Talk continues to grow. And the content that we're putting out week after week, Ralph, I mean, this guy with the content he puts out with his guides in, baseball first pitch he puts out and everything else, it's just people have so much free information to get at Wager Talk. We're making people better handicappers on their own. And we said, you know what? It's time you and I take that show and take it to Wager Talk, have it housed at Wager Talk, and us to do our own version. It's going to be similar in ways, but different in a lot of ways. We're going to have fun. We're going to have Kelly Stewart going to be the host of the show for us. You and I will be there each and every week. We're going to be filming it on Wednesdays. It'll be out Wednesday night at Wager Talk TV, and the show is called Bet On It. And guys, you will be able to bet on it. The information that we're going to have, Ace and I, we're going to do the same format to open the show as we've always done with Gil. Is people love those primetime games, and we're going to have We're going to have the Sunday night NFL game, the Monday night game. Every week, we're going to break those games down for the audience, and we're going to have some new surprises. Not going to give away all of the things that we're doing on the show because I want people to tune in and see what we've got planned. You've seen the layout of the show. We're excited about what we're going to do. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be in studio. It was always Gil's show was in podcast version. Now you're going to get to see us doing things, live in studio as we record it. And God only knows what shenanigans are going to, break out with Kelly, you, and me together. It could be very fun. Could be scary at times.
I can't wait, Marco. Just real quick, I know Ralph's chomping at the bits to go watch these college football games, so I will be quick, sir. Honestly, I am so excited for the show we're doing because after talking to you and Johnny and Kelly, and you're like, take the handcuffs off, do the way you want to do it, bring the information you want to bring from the perspective you understand most. And that, to me, is the best because that's exactly what the UFC told me. And that's why I signed that 5-year deal because they said, we don't want an analyst. We have UFC caliber talent, fighters that know the game like Troy Aikman knows NFL football. So we don't need an analyst. We don't need a guy that's going to predict games either. There's a million of those guys all over social media, but none of them are winners long term. We want someone that understands gambling and could share gambling knowledge with our viewers, even if they're, unsophisticated, try to make them a little more sophisticated and, more importantly, provide something for the sharp guys. Because in today's world, there's more sharp bettors. Even casual bettors are sharper today than we were. I say it all the time. It took me 5 years to learn what someone young right now could probably learn in 6 months to a year by scouring the right spots and information sources on the internet. But with a caveat, and this is what scares me, and this is why this show is so important. And again, Ace ain't trying to save the world, so don't take this the wrong way. But I can promise you this: the best thing and worst thing for the legalization of sports betting is, I've said it before, prior to all this legalization, we already knew that less than 1% of bettors are actually profitable long time. And I can promise you that 1% isn't the ones that are providing all the sports betting content. So what I mean by that is 99% of the stuff we read, of the stuff we study, of the stuff we watch are coming from losing bettors. Do you understand what that means? That's like watching a tutorial on YouTube on how to paint by someone that can't paint. Seriously, that's the equivalent of it. If you really break it down, that what they're telling you on YouTube and what they're telling you on all these social media platforms is how great they are and how rich they are and how much money they make gambling. And it's all bullshit, obviously. But there's so many more of them with this legalization, and that's what scares me. That so many new bettors are entering into sports betting, and they're going to learn the wrong way. I'm sorry to say it, dude. And I may, again, they could say they don't like my voice, my teeth, this, that. You don't have to like me. But there's one thing I know, and that's how to make money sports betting and how to make money playing blackjack. Those are the two things in gambling that I learned and I can do. I sacrificed 20 years of my life to learn that game here, probably 30 years overall, of sweat, blood, tears. I know the months of being broke and the worrying about how am I going to build a new bankroll with what I learned to go and take advantage. Because believe me, you want to go be a doctor, you're going to come out with student loans. You want to be a winning sports bettor, you're going to have lost a couple of bankrolls. Anyone who tells you differently is lying. And that's what I want this show to be. That, sure, we want to give picks. Sure, we want to have fun and entertain. But I'm hoping we could try to build a foundation for these young bettors to point them at least in the right direction, because I'm seeing it so much in the UFC. Because you got to remember, again, not the rant, but MMA betting is the first points lines that went up in Las Vegas were in 2003. So we're talking 15 years ago was the first time an MMA line even went up in Las Vegas, and they were only putting it up for the main event. So until like 2005 or 6, there wasn't even MMA lines to bet or UFC lines. So it's a sport that's a little more than a decade old as far as the betting market goes. And I can promise you that, unfortunately, there has been, I don't know of anyone, or maybe very few, I don't see it, that have crossed over to actually explain to people, this is how people that make money betting actually do it. If you want to do it for entertainment and recreation, God bless you. Have fun with it and predict games and be a psychic. And if you get hot, give me some picks. I'll piggyback it. I don't care where the source is. If you're winning, I want to bet it. But we know that's not how you win betting sports. You got to be selective. You got to find inefficiencies. You got to bet size correctly. All that stuff that's so much more important than just a pick. So again, not to go off on a tangent, but that's why I'm so excited about this show, Marco, because you guys were like, we're doing it this way, and we want you on board for this. And thank you for that, dude. Thank you for that, and I can't wait.
Did you take a breath during that?
No, I will say I had a procedure done this morning, so I had anesthesia. So I'm probably really drugged up right now. Because I was so nervous that the anesthesiologist took pity on me, and he was like, I'm going to give you something to calm you down as well. He's like, it's kind of like a Valium or something like that, and he shot it into my IV, and oh, Lord, I was like, you guys could cut me open, no anesthesia needed. Go ahead, do what you got to do. All fear gone, dude.
If this is VR on Valium, God only knows whenever we get straight 101 proof VR on the show. Hey, VR, we're coming up on a break, so give us a best bet for this this weekend.
I'm going straight Northwestern, baby. Buy the head point, take it to 7, sprinkle a little in the money line, because I think they could beat Stanford straight up. This is such a big game for Northwestern, because if you remember, they had a couple bad seasons, I think 2013, 2014, if I'm not mistaken, and they had a season opener in 2015, and they wanted to prove something. Like, that was their biggest game, because they were going in playing a team that was ranked 21st in the country, and they went in there and they beat them 16-6, and they still remember it, meaning Northwestern does. So I know people are going to look at that and look at maybe, Stanford wants revenge. Stanford's got bigger fish to fry than Northwestern, rest assured, with that, improved Pac-12 over there, Pac-10, whatever it is nowadays. So again, I think we're getting some line value there, and I think Northwestern, even matchup-wise, they could win this game, man.
VR, I've got two numbers to throw your way to go along with your play.
I need Ralph's stamp of approval, obviously, to make me feel better.
I've given this game out as well as a best bet on a different show, but Northwestern now 17-4 ATS on the road, their last 21 road games. And Stanford was a 9-win team last year that returned 15 starters. This year, they only returned 9 starters. And what people don't remember from last year's 9-win Stanford team, they got outgained on the season. A 9-win team got outgained, and yet they're getting this recognition. They're rated in the top 25. I have them as my number 40 team in my power rating, so completely agree with your play.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, sir. I love it. I absolutely. I put it in the bet. It's a 4%er at WagerTalk. I gave that out. I liked it. I thought the line would move, but you're going to get a lot of Stanford support, I think, especially on teasers. I think you're going to get a lot of teas down for Stanford just thinking they're just going to win that game. Like I said, that's why I see Sprinkle written all over it.
You make the AP rating. You have a ranked team against a not. Right there, you're going to get the public money on Stanford.
Yep, exactly. And like you said, with the ranking in front of them, like the tease looks almost automatic.
And remember, last year, the last 2 years, blindly, if you just took the underdog in Northwestern games, you made a ton of money last year. Is the underdog got the money in all of the Northwestern games. So you took Northwestern as a dog, you faded them as a favorite. Ace, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, guys, and feel free to edit out anything if I did not. Like I said, I'm a little under the influence of some stuff right now. So feel free to edit it if I didn't make sense anywhere.
Our listeners are used to hearing people under the influence. That's not a problem.
I'm an extremely sober person. Yeah. I rarely even drink. So,
yeah. Ralph, how many ounces is that bottle you have there that you're drinking that's supposed to be water?
This is water.
Okay.
Dude, I've seen Ralph in action. Honestly, I am in awe. In awe. Like, wow. Impressed, dude. Yeah. Impressed.
All right, Ace, we're going to take a break here. Appreciate it. I will see you next week. Good luck this weekend. I'll see you in studio.
Thanks, have a great season, guys.
All right, good stuff from Ace. We're going to step out, take a quick break.
In over the left side. Touchdown, Alabama.
Welcome back to the WagerTalk Podcast, and I am excited about this one. We have a new sponsor, and this segment is going to be brought to you by Touchdown Alabama. And guys, if you are an Alabama football fan, subscribe today to Touchdown Alabama magazine at touchdownalabama.com. It's Alabama's premier football magazine and website. No networks, no other teams, no other sports, just premium Alabama football coverage for only $5.95 a month. That's $5.95 a month. Check it out, Touchdown Alabama. I'm excited to bring on and introduce to you Stephen M. Smith. He is the senior reporter for Touchdown Alabama magazine. You can follow him on Twitter at Coaching M. Smith. Stephen, welcome to the show, my man.
Happy to be here. College football, alive and well.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? I mean, obviously for the rest of the country, Stephen, Alabama's been the premier football team for how long? Now, Clemson's, staking their claim here. The last few years, you guys have been butting heads with Clemson. They got the best of you last year, but it's a new year in Alabama. They come into every season, if not the favorite to win the national championship. They are right there. And once again this year, it's Alabama and Clemson. Those are the two. Seems like we're back into the glory days of basketball when it was Cleveland and Golden State for how many years in a row, but we have these two. Tell us a little bit about Touchdown Alabama magazine and what you guys do. And then we're going to get into this week's game, pick your brain a little bit. And, we're here. We're in Vegas. Obviously, we have a little point spread to talk about as well, because in Vegas, we like to put some money down on the games when we're watching, and we want to get some insights from you. I know there was a big injury this week, and we'll get to that as well. But first, Steven, tell us about Touchdown Alabama magazine and what you guys do in the website.
Well, the magazine started in 2007. I was fortunately enough to come on 2 years later in 2009, but it was started in 2007, and what we do is we cover the full basis of Alabama football from start to finish. If Nick Saban was to sneeze, we're right behind him catching the sneeze. So that pretty much tells you we cover this from start to finish, whether it's practices, press conferences, major events, game recaps, whatever is happening on the ground in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That's what we do. We provide videos. We provide article content. I actually have a show on the network entitled In My Own Words, podcast there on YouTube. People definitely go check it out, In My Own Words. We have our recruiting guy, whose name is Justin Smith. Does a great job on the recruiting front. He's got a podcast called The Process, where he talks about all the hot young athletes, the hot young high school recruits that are considering coming to or attending or enrolling, I should say, at the University of Alabama. So Touchdown Alabama magazine, we are literally the boots on the ground in Tuscaloosa, giving you wall-to-wall coverage of this program ran by Nick Saban.
Steven, we have a phrase here in college football. A lot of teams will use the phrase, it's a rebuilding year. For Alabama, it's never a rebuilding year. It's just a reloading, because you guys get the top recruits year after year. So, when we're looking and breaking down the games and, as a handicapper, the first thing we look at is the roster and who's coming back, who they lost, and how it's going to affect the team. But when it's Alabama, it's different. You guys just, you get all the blue chippers, and it doesn't matter if you've only got, 10, 11, 13 returning starters. You guys seem not to miss a beat. And once again, another great recruiting class.
Nick Saban has enjoyed every recruiting class he's brought in, from the 2008 group that had Marcel Darius, Julio Jones, Mark Ingram, Mark Barron, those guys, to this one right here. But there's something about this particular recruiting class, this 2019 bunch, that has really kind of won Saban's heart over. He really loves this class. He is really fiery, really passionate about this class. And a lot of people have talked about this class right here is Saban's best one yet. And it's kind of hard to say that due to the 2008 class brought you Julio Jones, and Julio's destroying the NFL right now. And it brought you Mark Ingram and Marcel Darius. And then you had the 2013 bunch that got you the likes of Derrick Henry and O.J. Howard and Jonathan Allen and Tim Williams. And let's not forget Reuben Foster. There's been a number of strong, solid classes, but this is the bunch that really is really, really good. And Nick Saban very high on this bunch.
Couple questions that I have for you. Obviously, entering a season like this year, when you're coming off the national championship game in a game that, Clemson took it to you guys, is there, from the spring practices to the fall practices getting ready for the season this year, is there a different intensity with Saban off of a loss like that going into the next year, or is it just the same business as usual every year?
I think it's a mixture of both. There is a different intensity. Nick Saban hates to lose more than he loves to win. So quite naturally, there's a bigger intensity coming off of a loss, especially one that's nearly a 30-point loss. Alabama lost by 28 to Clemson, and it was a game where, for the first time, you actually saw Nick Saban and his staff get outclassed, get outcoached, get outplayed, and looking like they were confused and all seemed lost in that football game. So it's a different intensity, but at the same time, it is business as usual in terms of trying to get back to what makes Bama football so good, what makes Bama football so dominant, most importantly, what makes Bama football so marketable. which is playing to that style of discipline, that style of poise, that style of excellent execution, that style of we're not going to make mistakes, but we're going to force the opposition to make mistakes and capitalize on those mistakes and cause whomever we play to not want to see us on that field ever again taking on that particular team. So while it is a different intensity, it's business as usual in terms of playing to that dominant style of play.
Stephen Ralph here. There's very few teams. In fact, there's only two teams, Clemson and Alabama, that come into the season, and the national championship is their expectation. And it's a realistic expectation. Does rarely losing and perhaps your goal is being an undefeated season, does that change the way you recruit? Has Nick Saban gone after those elite high school players that have gone 48-0 in their high school careers or have gone 30-0 and never lost games? Or doesn't that matter and he just teaches them that new mentality when they get there?
He teaches them the mentality, but I think the biggest thing with Coach Saban is getting those coaches right. It's about getting those coaches that teach these young men how to play the game at their respective positions. You go back to 2018 for just a moment. That recruiting class did not finish in the top three, did not finish number one, and a lot of Crimson Tide fans were disgusted. They were concerned. They were in fear. They were frustrated. They were bothered. I can't tell you how many text messages, emails, direct messages that were coming to my phone, to my forums of social media of people asking me, Stephen, what happened? Why did this kid not want to come to Bama? Why couldn't we get that guy? Why did we not finish number 3 or number 1 or in the top 3? And, of course, I can't tell you the answer to that question because I don't know. But at that point in time, there was a lot of frustration. There was a lot of information out there about a lot of coaches using Nick Saban's age to kind of just negatively recruit against him and saying, he's 66, he's 67, he doesn't speak the language of these 16, 17, 18-year-olds. He's not heavy on social media. He's not hip with the Twitter, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Snapchat, all of these things that today's generation of athletes is familiar with. But I feel like Nick Saban had a moment to kind of sit down and understand the Alabama football program is going to sell itself. People are going to buy jerseys. They're going to buy T-shirts. They're going to buy shoes. They're going to buy hats. It's all about getting the coaches in here that know their position, that know their job, that understand what the stage means to be at Alabama, and can get these young men playing at an elite level. And when you have those coaches, it doesn't really much matter the type of athlete you bring in. You got those coaches are going to push that full potential out.
Yeah, it's pretty rough when, let's see, you go through Alabama recruiting 1, 1, 1, 1, 5, 1. Yeah, I can understand how that 5 is just horrific.
Stephen, one of the things that last year we saw Alabama, from a betting standpoint, the first 10 games of the season, they went 10-0 betting Alabama first half. Now, here in Vegas, you can bet the full game, you can bet first half, you can bet second half, and Alabama just dominated everybody the first half of the game, got out to that big lead, was covering those games left and right, and they ended up pulling Tua so many games at halftime or early in the third quarter because of the big lead and not risk getting him hurt. Plus the fact you had a guy sitting behind him named Jalen Hurts that I think correct me if I'm wrong, but Nick Saban, he's all about winning. There's no question about that. But making the decision that he made in the championship game 2 years ago to go to Tua after, Jalen got you guys where he got you and had been such a great quarterback during his time at Alabama, I think he he felt bad, generally did. It was a tough decision for him, but Tua was the better quarterback, and that's what he went with. But Jalen got some playing time. Now you don't have that this year with, Jalen Hurts behind him. Will we see Tua get pulled like he did last year, or will we see him on the field more?
You will see Tua on the field more, but Alabama's got another quarterback behind Tua Tagovailoa that's just as good as Jalen Hurts was, and the young man's name is Mac Jones. Mac Jones, the redshirt sophomore out of Jacksonville, Florida. This guy was a four-star, when he came in 2017. Along with Tua Tagovailoa, and this is the guy in Jones that I kind of resemble to former Tide quarterback A.J. McCarron, in the sense of both guys were number 10. Both guys came from small private schools. A.J. McCarron came from St. Paul Episcopal High School in Mobile. Of course, Mac Jones, the Bowles High School in Jacksonville, Florida. They put up strong numbers in their high school tenures. They both come to Alabama not fully developed physically in their bodies. They have to redshirt. They have to put on some weight, some muscle, some strength to play in the Southeastern Conference. But once they got everything fine-tuned and everything down, you really saw the stroke of talent, brilliance, and big playability from the likes of A.J. McCarron. And I think you're about to see this from Mac Jones as well. Nick Saban very high on this young man. He has grown within the system. He knows the play calling scheme backwards, forwards, and sideways. So in a situation where if, Tua was to get hurt, hopefully that does not happen, but if there was a situation where Tua Tagovailoa was to go down or get hurt, this Alabama team feels very confident in Mac Jones stepping in there and guiding the ship.
You have a younger Tua, right? Tua's younger brother is going to be the pipeline as well?
Toledo Tagovailoa is the third quarterback on the roster behind Tua and Mac Jones. And Toledo, not really the passer that Tua is right now, but a guy that can make some plays on the run, a little bit more of the running quarterback than his brother is. But Toledo is third on that depth chart behind Tua and Mac.
Another thing that you can bet on out here in Vegas, obviously, is who wins the Heisman Trophy. And last year in October, when we're talking, mid to late October, Tua was the overwhelming favorite to win the Heisman. And then out of nowhere, Kyler Murray kept going up the charts and ended up overtaking him and winning it at the end. And a lot of money came in those final weeks on Kyler Murray. And the reason for it simply was the numbers that Murray put up, because his defense was so bad at Oklahoma, he had to keep scoring. And because Nick Saban, had those big leads and took Tua out of those games, in my opinion, cost Tua the Heisman Trophy. But, Nick Saban's a coach. His goal every year is to win the national championship. Individual awards are not a focus for him. My thing is, if somebody's out there thinking about, the numbers that Tua had and as good as he was last year and should be even better this year, that they might want to go and put money down on Tua for the Heisman Trophy, is that a concern again this year?
I wouldn't look at it as a major concern. Of course, Tua wants to win the Heisman Trophy. Of course, the teammates around him would love to see him do it. And he's got a tough race of competitors fighting against him. You look at Trevor Lawrence back for Clemson, Jake Fromm back for Georgia. You look at a lot of guys are expecting a good push from Jalen Hurts now at Oklahoma. Justin Herbert out there at Oregon's got a good chance. You got a couple of running backs in the mix, including Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin, J.K. Dobbins at Ohio State. So there are a lot of guys that are in this conglomerate, in this push to try to win the coveted Bronze Award. I think Tua will have a season where it will put him in that position to win it. But if you talk to him, and I've got a chance to speak with him, it's not an overwhelming concern. His overwhelming concern is becoming a better leader, becoming a better quarterback, and getting back to that national championship stage and finishing the job this time around, because one of the biggest mantras of Alabama football is finish. You start strong, you finish strong. Tua started strong in 2018. He didn't finish the way he would like to, and I understand injuries came into effect there with the knee and the ankle, and then, of course, the elite defenses putting pressure on him, the likes of LSU and Mississippi State, of course, Georgia and Clemson down the stretch there. So his biggest focus is finishing strong and holding that national championship at the end. If it comes with a Heisman Trophy next to it, he'll take that. But the biggest focus for him is being a better vocal leader towards his teammates and finishing with that national championship.
As we alluded to, there was an injury just happened in the last day or so, and that's Dylan Moses. You're a big linebacker. How much of a concern is this, and what are we looking at with him?
It's a concern, seeing as how this was the leader of your defense. This was the captain of your defense. Moses comes in the line of a long lineage of guys who have ran that Mike linebacker position at Alabama under Nick Saban, starting off with Rolando McClain, and you run down to C.J. Mosley and Reggie Ragland, Reuben Foster, Sean Deion Hamilton, and Mack Wilson this past year. The list goes on, but this was a guy in Dylan Moses, of whom coming out of high school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, this was a guy that's been wanting to run a defense since he was in the 8th grade. And he's got tremendous size, he's got strong signal calling ability, and a guy that was up for a lot of preseason awards. He knows the system. He understands the system. So it's a loss, any way that you slice it. But I feel like Nick Saban sees two freshmen in this 2019 class, or from this class, that he's willing to roll the dice and take a gamble on. And those two young men are Christian Harris and Shane Lee. And these are not your average freshmen. First and foremost, Christian Harris, out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, also the 4-star from University Lab School, he was not an early enrollee. He did not come in January. This kid came in June. And for this kid to come in roughly 2 months ago, and he beats out guys that have been in the system 2 and 3 years for this weak side linebacker position, the second inside backer spot, that just tells you that young man has tremendous mental capacity. This is not your average freshman. And while he's playing linebacker in high school, he played wide receiver and defensive back. So this is a linebacker with tremendous ball skills. And if you put him in a situation where he doesn't have to think as much and those instincts take over, this could be something special for that young man. And then right next to him, you got Shane Lee at 6 feet, 246 pounds, a 4-star out of the Maryland area. This guy reminds me of a former Bama star in D'Amico Ryan. Probably not the biggest guy, but he is a signal caller. He gives the commands. He gets guys lined up. He can fire the football. He can make plays in the backfield. He was here in January. So for about 7 months, he was in the system early, getting a hold of the defense in the film room, studying different formations and schemes. Nick Saban really high on these two young men, and he mentioned in his presser on Wednesday, sometimes you've got to play the freshmen. Sometimes you've got to play these young kids to see what can they do, what can they bring, how can they help a team that's trying to get back to the national championship stage and win it all. So while it hurts not having Dylan Moses on the field for this upcoming season here, Nick Saban okay with getting these two freshmen out there and seeing what they have.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here before we let you go. As I said, we're all about the point spread here in Vegas. So I'm going to ask you, Alabama is laying 33.5 this week to Duke. Are we taking Duke plus the points, or are we going Alabama minus the points? Ralph wants to jump in here one quick second.
I'm going to give, Stephen, I'm going to give you two numbers here. And this will make it easier for you to decide which you think you're going to agree with more. Alabama, we know anytime you give Nick Saban more time to prep, Alabama, 12-0 straight up, 11-1 ATS week number 1, because just like in the bowl games, you give them extra time to prep. he's extra special. But then I pulled this number out as well. Roll Tide is just 5-15 against the spread as a non-conference favorite of 26 or more. And this is the first Power 5 they've been to against in that role. So, laying that many points against a non-conference opponent is very tough to do. One more note. When the Tide is a non-conference big favorite of that, they've gone 5-14 over-under. So 14 of the 19 games have been lower scoring and under the total. With that said, do you side with the week one and they're going to blow this team out? Or do you think it's just going to be closer as they work on some things moving towards week two?
I think it's week one and Alabama blows the team out. I feel like this is a Nick Saban team that really, really hungry, really, really focused. They've heard all off season, Clemson's the better program. Dabo Swinney's the better coach. Trevor Lawrence the better quarterback. Clemson's got the better symmetry. Everybody wants to be at Clemson. They've heard the talk all off season. They're tired of it. And this 2019 group that is coming to join the rest of this program, they're hungry. They're playing lights out football. I think week one, Nick Saban goes out here, lays the points down, and they get the points needed. I think Saban and Alabama take care of it and blow them out.
All right, Stephen, great stuff. Appreciate you stopping by. We'll have you on more this year in Touchdown Alabama. Again, go to the website. It's touchdownalabama.com. If you're interested in the magazine, you can pick it up just $5.95 per month. Get all of the inside information that you need with Alabama football. Stephen, as I send you out, we got to give me a Roll Tide. Come on.
Roll Tide, people.
Hey, and again, the website?
The website is touchdownalabama.com. And again, you can follow Stephen on Twitter at Coaching M. Smith. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is Best Bets up next here on the WagerTalk Podcast. Welcome back to the WagerTalk Podcast. It is Best Bet time. Guys, I want to apologize. We had technical difficulties tonight getting our buddy William Bernacki on the line from CG Technologies. We weren't able to connect with him, but I can tell you, Ralph, you did the Las Vegas Sports Line show today with another guy from CG Technologies. Who did you have on the show today?
Dave is great. I mean, Dave is knowledgeable. Dave tells great stories. And if they just go to the Las Vegas Sports Network and find the Las Vegas Sports Line or just type in Las Vegas Sports Line, that show is archived, and it's the first 25 minutes of the show, actually from 2:05 to about 2:30. All we're talking about are Friday – couple Thursday games they're going to hear about, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday games. All
right, you can check that out, as Ralph says. But, Ralph, it's time for us to do some best bets. I'm going to quickly recap. We had Dave Cokin give his best bet earlier in the show, and if you want to listen to that, you can go back to segment 2 and check it out. But he gave Ball State plus the points as his best bet. In segment 3, we had Gianni join us, VR. He gave us Northwestern as his best bet. Ralph, I'm going to go to you. Where is your best bet for this week?
Cokin, what the hell is he doing giving out an ugly team like Ball State? Well, how about if I tell you I'm going to back Rutgers and lay 14 or 15 points? Rutgers is a team that blew out their weaker opponents each of the last 2 years. UMass is the worst team in the FBS. In fact, I have about 30 or 35 teams from the FCS rated higher power rated than UMass. When you have a team like a Big Ten team that knows they're only going to win a couple games, you have an excited crowd. There's no negativity yet. You're 0-0 on the year. You have this patsy coming in. You don't take your foot off the gas. Rutgers is one of my plays this weekend at Wager Talk. It's my best bet as well here on the podcast.
All right, guys, I am going to give you a total for my best bet. But before I get to that, I want to tell you about a special deal I've got going for the listeners of tonight's podcast. This is the kickoff week, and I know we had week 0 last week, Ralph, and I hate that week 0. But
I love it.
Yeah, this is the real thing, guys. The season price for college and pro football right now at WagerTalk, you can get my college and pro football for $12.95. That is the normal rate. It is up and available right now. But if you use coupon code MARCO795, that's Marco 795, you can get my entire college and pro football season. That's the regular season. All playoff games, all bowl games, right through the Super Bowl. Every play I have in football, just $7.95 if you use coupon code Marco795.
Marco, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they go to WagerTalk.com and click on NFL or college, individually, those are $7.99.
Absolutely.
So you're getting both sports for less than the price of one.
Absolutely.
Awesome deal.
That is a deal. I'm going to run that through the end of the month. It's done. August 31st, that deal is gone. So you got through Saturday to take advantage of it. And we're having a nice week, Ralph. Very selective this week, but we're 3-0 heading into Thursday night action. And we'll see if we can keep this thing rolling along. Let's get to that best bet. And that best bet for me, guys, I am going to look at the North Carolina-South Carolina game. The total, there are still some 63.5s around town, but I'm starting to see it drop, and that is the direction that I am going with this game. I am going to the under. North Carolina returns 9 starters on offense and 7 on defense, and they've got a new head coach in Mack Brown. This is his second stint at North Carolina. He's been out of coaching for 5 years, but I look for him to get right back in the mix of things. The North Carolina defense last year, boy, it was as bad as it could get. 107th ranked defense out of 130. They averaged giving up 34.5 points per game last year. So why in the world am I looking at the under? Well, guys, they're bringing back a lot of starters. Those guys got to improve, for one. 2, Mack Brown is going to change this team. I think he will have a more conservative offense, which is going to keep his defense off the field for longer periods of time. We saw when he was at Texas at his last coaching spot, that offense really wasn't that imaginative, and at the end, that's what got him shown the door. Also, I'm looking at this total, Ralph, and when you're starting the new season, where do you start it at? You look at where you left off last year and what comes back, what you lost, and what you were doing last year, and people look at those high-scoring games that North Carolina had last year. I'm looking for this one to be a lower-scoring game. Yeah, there'll still be points, but I think 63.5 is way too high in this game. Personally, I got this game at 58. We're going to go under the total as our best bet. Once again, don't forget, you can pick up my season package, both college and pro. Marco, $7.95. Pick it up for the entire season, just $7.95. You save $500 on the full season price. I want to thank all of tonight's guests. Sorry again for William Bernacki and our technical difficulties. It's a big Thursday. We're taping on Thursday. A lot of games going on, and things were just hopping at CG right now. Also want to give a big shout out to our guest, Gianni the Greek Gambler. And we talked about that new show we've got coming at WagerTalk TV. That is Bet On It. And of course, Touchdown Alabama joined us to break down the Alabama game and everything about the Crimson Tide. And Stephen M. Smith, great interview with him. And of course, my partners in crime, Ralph Michaels and Dave Cokin. Jared Justice behind the controls, making sure we all sound good. And, of course, I want to thank you guys for listening to the podcast. We wouldn't have a podcast if it wasn't for you guys listening. And, of course, I got to give a shout-out to our Michigan crew, Johnny Detroit and the crew there in the Michigan offices with Missy, Reno, and Melissa taking care of everything. Busy time there, Ralph. They've been slammed with the Gold Sheet subscriptions this week, opening week. Everybody jumping on board, and we're handling the Gold Sheet enrollment now as we took that over. So until next week, guys, I'm Marco D'Angelo. Let's cash some tickets.